This is a Ninja 250 Twin, a CBU. Back in the day, this was the first bike with a twin-cylinder engine. It's hard to believe, but when we first got our hands on this bike, it wouldn't go above 20 kilometers per hour. We tried everything to get this bike into our garage, and the journey was nothing short of challenging. For the first time, we started with the rear section of the bike. Our main objective was to grease all the moving parts on the swing arm. This included the axle, which was jammed and refused to move. We had to take this bike out, apply heat and a lot of hammering to get it out. The shock mount bolts faced a similar fate. Traditional hammering was the only way to get them loose. Meanwhile, Akshay was busy removing the body panels as the throttle body needed urgent attention. On the other side, Sameer was cutting a bolt of the shock mount bolt with a grinder. Our main objective was to grease all these moving parts. You will know soon why we had to cut it. Here is the reason: the sleeve and bolt had rusted and bonded together, leaving us no choice but to cut through. We'll have to fabricate some new sleeves later. With the body panels removed, only the petrol tank remained before the bike was fully stripped. Once the tank was off, we turned our attention to the throttle body. Remember, the bike wouldn't go above 20 kilometers per hour, and here's one of the reasons why. We found a cocoa powder-like substance clogging the throttle body and a completely busted air filter. Next, we inspected the spark plugs, which were due for replacement. We thoroughly cleaned the throttle body until it was spotless. Following that, we unmounted the front brake calipers for servicing. One bolt gave us a particularly hard time, but we managed to get it off eventually. With the throttle body clean and the air filter replaced, we moved on to the chain and sprockets. These are the new Rolon brass chain sprocket kit. Let's unbox it, shall we?
Holder 24 carats. This here
First, we removed the old front sprocket, cleaned the area and installed the new one. The new chain went in along with the swing arm, secured with the central axle. Next, we addressed the rear wheel, starting with the wheel bearings. We sprayed some rust buster and pried out the old bearings. This is one of the more reasons the vehicle could not move. After replacing the rear sprocket with a new one, we greased the rear axle properly and reassembled the rear wheel. It looked much better already. With the rear sorted, we shifted our focus to the front. First, we shift the ratchet to the rear so that we can raise the front end for servicing. We removed the front tire, loosened the check nut, loosened the shock mount bolts and took out the front shocks to check the fork oil. We could see that the fork oil was leaking and the oil seals needed replacement. For checking the cone set, this T-plate had to come out. This refused to budge. After spraying rust buster on the stubborn top T-plate, we removed it and inspected the cone set bearings. The check nut is being removed to access the bearings. Will you look at that? The rust was extensive, necessitating a complete replacement. The front wheel also had rim damage, which we are taking out now to get it repaired. We have ordered new Apollo Alpha H1 tires for this bike. We have come out to get the lockset repaired. This thing turns the key a whole 360 degrees doing nothing. We are at a specialist. This guy is a champ at repairing locks. And true to our motto, if a part can be repaired, we'll repair it. While in the garage, we drained and replaced the fork oil. Both the forks had different colors of oil. We ensured that both forks were properly serviced and reassembled. The brake calipers were cleaned and serviced. Take a look. Well, the front wheel has come back. The alloy bends have been fixed and new tires have been installed. Front wheel bearings were replaced and greased. We head on to installing it back. We also changed the front brake pads. With everything back in place, we changed the spark plugs and bled the front brakes. The throttle body was reinstalled and the bike roared back to life. We calibrated the cylinders using a vacuum gauge. The rear tire was changed. The lockset was finally repaired and working. Finally, Hulk took the bike out for a test spin to check if everything was in order. We also convinced the rider to get the panels repainted, to which he agreed. The panels were sent out for painting, and once they returned, we gave the bike a detailed polish.
How's it?
Kyffs Customs.